Representative Tsongas, if you had to grade President Obama on his handling of the embassy attack in Benghazi, what letter grade would you give him and why?
Well, there's one reason I never wasn't a teacher for very long, because grading is one of the toughest things you do. But the reality is, as we've seen the situation unfold across the various countries of the Middle East, that a one-size-fits-all is not appropriate. And I give our president credit for getting engaged in an international way in which the Arab League partners were part of removing Muammar Gaddafi from office and transitioning to a more democratic country. But it's a transition that is not without its challenges, and as we see, Americans are still in harm's way. And the tragic circumstances of Benghazi have to be investigated, as our president is doing, and the perpetrators must be brought to justice. But I do believe that it's in a complicated situation. As the information is coming in, appropriate responses are taking place by our president as he persists in seeking out those who are responsible.
What's a grade? A
grade. A B.
John.
Thank you very much. I would give the President and his administration, because I recognize that there are many people who are involved in the foreign policy decision making, and give them an F. And I would give them an F. And I would give him an F for this reason. He has continued to lead from behind. We have a situation in the Middle East because we have not shown leadership. We haven't chosen to be leaders. We have chosen not to lead. And unfortunately, in this world today, people look to our leadership. And this president has always led from behind. We can't make a decision on who we're going to support in Syria, what we were going to do in Libya. And I will say this, we hear a lot of back and forth about there wasn't sufficient information that was given to the administration about what decisions to make with regard to giving more protection to our ambassador. It's a pretty simple, to me it was pretty simple. On one day of the year, in one region of the world, when you want to make sure that you increase your security on American officials in the Middle East on 9/11, it seems to me that isn't something that has to be requested. It's something that's just done.
I'd like to address the issue of Syria, because again, in no one size fits all, I think the situation in Syria is very reflective of that. As the president made the decision to become part of the effort to remove Muammar Gaddafi, it was clear that who the opposition was, that it was a weak army, and that it did not have robust capacity to defend itself. The situation in Syria is quite different. There are chemical weapons that we have to be very mindful of how they're kept. It has robust air defenses, and it is not clear yet who the appropriate party is to help support in removing an outrageous leader from the head of his country. So again, one size does not fit all. I give our president credit for weighing the pros and cons in each situation as he advances America's interests in every instance.
Representative Tsongas, you say that we don't know who the opposition is, the rebels who are trying to overthrow Bashar Assad in Syria. They have their base and their camps in southern Turkey, and the Saudis have seen fit to arm them. So I completely disagree with your characterization that we don't know who the Syrian opposition is and if they're weak or not weak. We should be supporting this, not with troops, but we should be supporting it with money and with arms. The Russians are continuing to fly weaponry. In fact, the Russians just flew weaponry that got stopped in Turkey and was seized that was headed to the Assad regime, a regime that's killed 30,000 people. We have Iran, and we'll talk about Iran, I'm sure, at some point tonight. We talk about nuclear fission, just one more, I'm sorry, nuclear fission and their building of a nuclear weapon. But we need to talk about the fact that they're exporting weapons to Syria, their closest ally, and they're exporting soldiers.
I'm going to have to call time. In fairness, one last comment.
Well, I think the real issue in Syria is that there have been a number of opposition groups. Al-Qaeda is coming in, and we want to be very certain that we are not sending arms to Al-Qaeda.
And with that, Dr. Weiser? Dr. Weiser, now pose the question.